everybody, it's Mark with Hawkeye Ordnance, and I got like 4 emails in like the span of 10 days that we have not updated our shotgun video. So this is a chance to talk a little bit about the Atgeir, which is the current model of Benelli M2 that we offer at Hawkeye Ordnance. So where do I want to start with this? So let me just give you the run through on the gun, and I'll get you some close-ups and all that stuff. But so this is the gun we do, including the shotgun, for $1,925 currently. That's kind of mid-season 2019. And what's included in that, starting from the buttstock up, is we do a reduced recoil spring, and then a trigger job. The port is open, and the lifter is welded and fitted so that there's no bottom out. You don't get the Benelli thumb. That includes our BFB bolt release button and an oversized charging handle. There's some options around that you can deal with later. A match saver, the XS sight dovetailed, a high-vis sight on the shotgun, the magazine tube, the spring, the follower, and all that. That's what's included in the 19 1/4. Now, there are a couple of upgrades that we offer, both of which are great and totally not necessary. So let's just start with the A&S trigger guard. So the A&S trigger guard, if you want to know more about this, see our review on the Hawkeye Ordnance channel. But it is essentially an aluminum housing for your trigger that allows for, it's got a nice scallop in here for loading. It's kind of rigid. It's got a nice feel to it. My understanding, although I don't have a Briley trigger, is that with the set screw triggers, it works great. You'll notice Briley and some of our friends like Dissident Arms are using them as well. And you're just going to pay retail for that price. There's no additional fees or anything for installing it. And then the other one that you'll see on my gun that's not available on every other gun is not available in the 19 1/4 is, better said, not included in the 19 1/4, is the cut bolt carrier. And the bolt carrier group, guys, like, does it speed up the lock and unlock? Yeah. Does it reduce recoil a little bit? Yeah. I mean, there's all that. That's all true. And I mean, arguably, none of that makes any real difference inside of the margins. It's a very small, like upgrade for the cost, because it just destroys our tools to do these. So we charge, we have to charge $250 or something like that currently in order to get that done. And look, if you got, it's a luxury. If you want it, same with the A&S trigger guard. I'm happy to do it for you. I have it in my gun because I can have whatever I want. But the truth is that you don't need to spend the money on that. Frankly, the only reason I have it is because Blair did it and it looks cool. Just being straight with you. So anyway, that's the gun. I've been running, this one actually is about 3 years old at this point. I've probably got, I don't know, in the neighborhood of 10 or 15,000 rounds on this particular receiver. And the reason we choose the M2 as the base model for our gun is because we've just seen in the long run that there's no money savings really in getting a lesser shotgun to start with. You're going to end up upgrading to something, maybe not the M2, but a $1,000 plus shotgun at some point, generally speaking. Now, if the same conversation goes with everything, is if you don't already have a good pistol, a rifle, or whatever, and you're trying to get your budget to work out, the Stoker's a great gun. The Franke's a good kind of in the middle. There's other great options out there. A lot of guys are having success with the Bredas. I just don't have any experience. And then there's the piston guns like the 1301, blah, 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 right? There's all these great guns out there. None of them you're going to go wrong with. We've just found that this is a format that has a couple of things going for it. One is we know it's reliable. And number two is 85% of the shooters are going to have one of these at a match. So if your gun goes down for some reason, you can just pick somebody else's up. And frankly, there's not a whole lot of difference, right? So I've had this gun for this particular one for about 3 years. Got a lot of rounds on it. This has been upgraded along the way to the current iteration of our shotgun. I will tell you, I pulled out a couple of them that arrived at Arnzen the other day, about a month ago, and I didn't even realize it was our work. They've gotten so clean. So they just look fantastic. They work great. I will tell you a couple things about mine, just to tell you why and what have you about all the parts. The reduced recoil spring system allows me to shoot 1150s and 1200s reliably out of this shotgun. So those are either 7.5 or 8 1 ounce loads, 1.5 or 1 1/4 ounce loads. Traveling at 1150 to 1200 feet per second. They run beautifully out of this gun. It'll run the 1300s, and plus they start to kick a little bit, and the high recoil slugs you notice because you don't have quite as much spring behind it. Trigger-wise, Blair just cleans all that up, so it's just a consistent break every single time. It's not, again, triggers and shotguns. How great has it got to be? I just have the standard safety on there. I've never needed anything else. Your mileage may vary on that. The A&S trigger guard I do like. I do like probably more than anything, just like when you're indexing the firearm one-handed, especially if you roll it over for the loads, it's just nice. It's just super smooth and very rigid feeling. Of course, for loading, you've got that nice shelf in there for loading. Again, this is a nice thing to have, certainly not a must-have. The bolt carrier, again, I can't honestly tell any discernible difference between it being cut and not cut. If you can, you're a better man than I. It does look awesome, and I would never get rid of it. The oversized charging handle for me is non-negotiable. Absolutely necessary for just doing those quick, left-handed, right-handed chargings. And then probably the number one thing that saved my ass more than any other piece of equipment on this gun is the bolt release. Because if you do end up locked back, you just flip it over, and this thing, you can't miss it. It's fantastic. And then the match saver, again, it's another one of those kind of like, this is like $25. I mean, if you can find $25 in equipment better spent than a match saver for saving a second or two on the clock, let me know. This thing is remarkable. We use the ones from Match Savers. There's a lot of good ones out there. This just happens to be one we've got a lot of experience with, so I have no problem saying it's 100%. This one's, I don't know. This one's, I put a new one on with a shotgun 3 years ago, so, and you can tell it's in fine shape. Another thing that's nice to have that we include in all of our guns is this dovetailed rear sight. So we shoot a lot of slugs in 3-gun, and sometimes there's just the need for a good aimed birdshot shot, like a long-range shot that you got to choke up for, something like that. And the sight does allow you to get those kind of more precision shots, at least as precision as a shotgun will go. And also the way this one is done, it's very low and it's very out of the way, so there's no real loss on the vent rib. Like you just don't, you still can shoot it like a shotgun, but then when you need that precision, it's right there. And there's a little just indicator in the back, and I'm like, slugs is one of my favorite things now, since I have that sight on there. The high-vis front sight's nice, just a good, there's a lot of great sights on the market. This one's just really easy for my eye to pick up. I switch back and forth between colors like it matters, but it doesn't. And then the magazine tube, which is practically ubiquitous with 3-gun. This is Lucy, by the way. So what we recommend is a total 12-round setup. So 12 rounds looks exactly like you see it right now. It is going to come over the end of the gun, but it gives you some slop. Plus, frankly, we're doing a lot of 12-round loads these days, and this just seems to be a magic number. There's guys who go to 14. There's some who've got it, they do 10, which actually ends up roughly flush. And this is a 26-inch shotgun, by the way, which is also the recommended length. We'll get into that in a sec. And a 10 will sit flush. It looks cooler, but frankly, it's not the best function for the game. The 26-inch gun. Look, there's none of them are. I mean, they're all going to work. 24, 21, 26, 28. Even. And what we have found collectively is that for whatever reason, the 26-inch gun is the longest length. Where when the gun starts to heat up, I don't like my slug pattern gets wider with a 28-inch gun. We tried this out in a couple of things. I've got some other anecdotal evidence for that. It's not scientific by any stretch of the imagination. But what we found was 26 inches seemed to be like a magic length for knockdown power versus slug grouping. That's why you'll see a lot of 26s out there. The 24 again, 21, they look cool. But ultimately, if you're going to have this long dongle on the end here, you might as well have as much barrel length as you can without giving something up, which, in Minnesota we shoot a lot of shotguns, so slugs are a big deal. If you're primarily shooting like local matches that can't or won't use slugs or use them really rarely, maybe you might want to look at a little longer gun. But I think overall, if you're looking for a good average length, 26 works beautifully. Let's see. I will say this about the Benellis: they do require that you make sure they're dry before you put them away. This one has actually been Blair Cerakoted the barrel for me. I kept getting a rust bloom, clearly due to poor maintenance. And so we cleaned, I had him clean that up for me by painting it, just a matte black. But other than that, this is the gun we do. Maybe we get into the porting a little bit just before we close this thing out. So mine is not opened up even as much as we do for the average guy. So I'll take pictures of this and fly it in. But this is probably, a step down in like the aggressiveness of the cut. I don't particularly like it. When I flip the gun over, I'd rather have some rail on there. I'd rather have some room to put the shells in. That's just my personal opinion. I don't need like the craziest cut in the world, because what I found was I just get sloppy when I do that. So I'm not doing that right now with this gun. And then the lifter, of course, is fitted. The key with the lifter here is it's got to fit perfectly with a full magazine, right? So you've got a huge space between your lifter and the last round. Then you can nosedive. There's a couple things that can happen when you're loading, but this combination of things seems to be a really good mix for me. Again, your mileage may vary, but this is the gun that we're currently offering. They're available at HawkeyeOrdnance.com for $19.25, or through our affiliate at Arms and Arms. And there's a couple of things you can change. The way to keep the prices down is not to have a lot of options, right? So one is you can change the shotgun. That doesn't change the price. You can go to 21, 24, 26. You can add the bolt carrier, which is $250 at this current time. And again, I would say it's more about the cool factor than it is about the actual value. There's a lot of places you could spend $250 if you are missing equipment. So that I would do first. And then you can add the A&S trigger guard, which I really like personally. But again, it's a great luxury, but not a must-have. So that's the shotgun. That's the Atgeir as you see it, 2019. If you have any questions about this gun or anything else, post your comments in the on the Facebook page or the YouTube page, wherever you're seeing this, and we'll try to respond to those as quick as we can. Otherwise, you can just go to the website, HawkeyeOrdnance.com, order the gun, or send a message right to Blair, who ultimately is the gunsmith that does this work. I'm the pretty face. Not very much. Anyway, hope you guys are well. I hope to see you on the range the rest of this season or next, and God bless.